4D glow-in-the-dark skeleton lady acrylic nail art tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish.
Hi guys! In today's video I'm going to be showing you a skeleton lady that is actually similar in concept to yesterday's eye candy video. In this one there's a very simple, very benign looking just lady or girl or woman or whatever you want to call her on top, and then you take her off, you take off her body and you see her skeleton underneath, which is glow in the dark. And I know that I did mention this later on in the video, but if you guys don't want to go through the whole process of making the 3D person, you could definitely just do the glow-in-the-dark skeleton because he is pretty cool. And I've been feeling glow-in-the-dark lately, so I love that. And it's really quick to do, and it's, yeah, you know, it's fun. You can really vary how detailed you make it and make it your own. So I hope you guys like this as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.
So I'm going to begin with an overlay of clear acrylic. While your clear acrylic is still wet, you're going to want to grab a magnet and place that into the nail so that it is ready for you and it's encased in there. So as my acrylic, I'll place that moment in just a moment. So I'm going to grab the little magnet and get it right in the center. Because the little piece that goes on top of this is almost the entire size of the nail, the 3D element, you could do more than one magnet if you wanted to, just to make sure that it's strong enough it's not going to pop off on you. That probably would actually be a good idea. Some of those things, you know, as you're working, you're just like, okay, I need to put in a magnet. Well, for this one, you may want to use two just in case. And then file the nail into shape with your E-file. I start out with a pretty coarse bit just to remove any bulk, and then switch to a finer bit to smooth out the surface texture. Then wrap the nail very tightly with some plastic wrap. Place another magnet on top of the one that's already in the nail. So it goes nail, plastic wrap, magnet, and then I'm going to be sculpting out my lady on top of it. So I'm going to begin with a layer of white acrylic for wherever her face is going to be. I know that the nail underneath this, right now it's just clear, so it wouldn't really matter, but it is going to be painted black and then going to have that skeleton on it. So if you just used a color of acrylic like a cover pink that isn't completely opaque, you are going to see some of that some of that image underneath showing through her skin, which is going to leave her looking kind of bruised and a little bit ugh. So if you had that layer of white first, it's going to just create a clean slate so you don't have to worry about that at all. Then cover up your clean slate. So I did her face shape and her neck with some cover pink, which is the color I'm using. You can do whatever you like with this. Cover pink is just a very easy one I have. It's the best flesh tone. You can use any sort of a nude color acrylic, or you can use darker colors. You know, you can really do whatever you'd like. So add that. I also add just a little bit kind of going down, so her neck and then like the very top of her chest. Then grab another bead and place that for where her nose is going to be. When I did that first layer of color over her face, I did press in the tip of my brush over where the eye sockets are going to be, just to sort of start working in where her eyes are going to be. Add a little bit more acrylic to her cheekbones to bump those out, and a little bit more on her forehead just to add a little bit more details to the 3D part of this. Then with whatever color you want her hair to be, take your hair color and start sculpting her hair around her. I went with a bronze color, and I know that people say this, you must really love that bronze color. I do. It's one of my favorite colors of color acrylic that I have. It is so good for so many circumstances when you would probably normally just use brown, because it adds just a little bit more glitz to it, especially for doing something like hair, where hair, you know, if it's nice and healthy and shiny, it might have a little shimmer to it. That bronze color really just looks fantastic for hair. So there's other metallic acrylics, but I would recommend using metallic one if you're going to be for her hair, just to make it look a little bit more sparkly and glamorous. So just go ahead and do that. And as you're sculpting your lady, the kind of idea for this design is that it doesn't look like it's something that's Halloween and creepy until you take off your little 3D person. So you can do this with anything. I mean, you could even do an animal, like you could do a cute little kitty and then underneath have a cat skeleton. That would be awesome. And now that I'm saying this, I feel like I need to do this, which I may, but I've got a lot of Halloween designs already this year. We'll see. That might end up being something I do. But anywho, I'm getting a little sidetracked here. The point is just to have it be very, very nondescript on top, and then you just pop that little part off and it's a glow-in-the-dark skeleton. So that's, yeah, one of my favorite kinds of designs to do. I love those little things where it makes you kind of go, oh, you know, a little surprise. Huh, look at that. Something that my grandmother would look at and get very shocked and go, well, that's interesting. So yeah, anyways, those are my favorite kinds of things to do. So then I'm going to be just starting out with the painting. I did a little bit of a brown wash on her face just to kind of emphasize some of those shadows that I did, or some of the, you know, around the eye sockets, around the nose and so. And then I added some highlights in her hair with gold, and then with black paint I'm going to start adding the little details on her face. I'm going to start with outlining her eyes, and as you can see, I just basically made black blobs and then started filling them in with white. If you like, you can do an outline and do her eyelashes all perfect from the get-go. I think it's easier to layer it up and start out, just kind of go back and forth between black and white at first just to get those eye shapes in. add her eyebrows. I added her eyebrows with brown paint, and then I believe I went back through and added just a little bit more of a definition in them with some black, just because, yeah, there you go. Just the brown paint didn't show up nearly as well as I wanted to, and you want to make sure that she does have eyebrows. Add the color in her eyes. I went with brown. Normally I always say that I use green for everything that I do, green paint for every eye I do, because I have green eyes. Normally that's the case. This one I decided to go with brown. And I'm going to be adding her lips, add some little outlines around her hairline. And I know that I say this too, I don't usually paint people. I try to avoid it as best I can. I just don't really think I don't really enjoy it. I don't necessarily hate it, but people have never been something I've been super comfortable with. So every once in a while I make myself do something like this just to sort of acclimate myself with painting people. So yeah, there's that. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. That's something else that people ask me is that they're nervous to do something because I don't know if it's going to turn out. It may not. And you can't be afraid of that, because if you're afraid of it never working out, you're never going to do it. So this is a very good example with me. Is I absolutely despise painting people or doing anything just because I'm nervous about it. Or I guess I don't even know if that's the right word, but it's not something I'm comfortable with. So try it. I love the way this nail turned out, and I'm glad I made it. I won't necessarily make another person very soon, but it's something just to make sure you do. And then after you have all your person done, go ahead and paint your nail first with a layer of black paint, then gel sealer, then buff it so it's nice and smooth and easy to paint on. And then with white paint, I'm going to start painting my little skeleton. So try to paint your skeleton so it's about the same proportionate size as your person that's on top. So since it was mostly just her head in the 3D piece, you pretty much just want to be the skull for this, but there is some neck there, so don't forget to add some of those neck bones. So I start out with just a layer of white, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to add the details that are black, so eye sockets, nasal cavity, and then start blending in some black just to kind of add some details to the skull here and there, brow bone, cheekbones, any of those little shadows and highlights that need to be added and blended in. You don't want your skeleton to just be white and black. You want it to have a nice grayscale throughout it so that it looks a little bit more realistic. That being said, if you want it to have more of that just black and white, very simple look, that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's a creative choice that we all get to make. That's the great thing about when you're doing something, when you're making anything. You have so much freedom to really do what you like the best. And I like having a grayscale, but that might not be what you prefer, so you can play around with it and do whatever it is that makes you happy. After you have your skeleton painted, go ahead and apply another layer of gel sealer, cure it again. Then mix some gel sealer with some glow-in-the-dark pigment, so you have a nice little glowing paint. The more glow-in-the-dark pigment you have, the better it's going to glow, but the harder it's going to be to paint with, so you have to find your balance. And then apply that over your skeleton everywhere that's not black, so not the nasal cavity or the eye sockets, but everything else, and that way he's going to glow so adorably in the dark, just like that. Just having that glow-in-the-dark skeleton, I think, is something I will probably have to have on my nails at some point in time this Halloween season. I hope you guys like this as much as I do. I think, like I said, not something I'm very comfortable with, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So don't be afraid to try something out of your comfort zone, and please share recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to see them, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!